Okay, okay. They will join, I think. Okay, let's start then. Okay, today I will be discussing on syllogism. If you remember, yesterday uh, I have given you a chart that inference is of two type, deductive and inductive. Then deductive is of two type, immediate and mediate. Mediate is also known as syllogism. Okay. So what is a syllogism then? As we have discussed that in immediate inference, um, there is one proposition, and out of one proposition we are deriving a conclusion. But in immediate deductive inference, there are more than one proposition as premises, and conclusion follows from the premises. So all mediate deductive inference is syllogistic or syllogistic in character. Very importantly, uh, in uh, in immediate inference, we proceed directly from one premise to conclusion, as I have already said. The conclusion immediately follows from a single premise, but in immediate deductive inference, which is also called syllogism, the conclusion follows not from one premise but from two premises taken together. Okay? So, in a syllogism, the conclusion is justified not by a single premise but by two premises taken jointly. Okay. For example, no great men are jealous. This is first premise. Some Indians are jealous. Are you writing the example? Please tell me so that I will be little slower.
Yes, we are writing.
Yes, ma'am.
So write down the example of a syllogism. Huh? So first premise is no great men are jealous. Second premise is some Indians are jealous. Therefore, the conclusion is some Indians are not great men. Okay? So, this is an example of a syllogism where the conclusion is not following from a single premise but it follows from both the premises, jointly from both the premises. Now, what is the nature of a syllogistic argument? Okay, the first is in every valid syllogism, there must be two premises which together justify the conclusion. Okay, so in a valid syllogism, we are having two premises and one conclusion. The second characteristic of a syllogistic argument is in a valid syllogism, the conclusion is hypothetically necessary in character. Okay? The conclusion is hypothetically necessary in character. Okay, that means a valid syllogism or a valid syllogism asserts that if these premises be given, then the conclusion necessarily follows. The third one is, in a valid syllogism, the conclusion is either as general or less general than the premises in respect of its subject matter. Okay. So, since in a syllogism is a deductive argument, as we have already discussed that in deductive logic or in deductive argument, the conclusion follows from the premises. So, the conclusion states what is there in the premises. So, it should be either as general or it should be the less general than the premises. The fourth characteristic is
Um, can you little bit more explain what it means as general or less general by some?
conclusion cannot be more general than the premises. The conclusion are in inductive argument. Okay,
Ah, okay.
like
Okay.
inductive argument, what we are doing, we are taking a number of instances, okay, particular instances, then we follow the conclusion, and the conclusion is more general than the premises. Like the example that I have given you, that A is a crow, A is black, B is a crow, B is black, C is a crow, C is black, till K or N, N is a crow, N is black. Therefore, we derive that all crows are black. Here, the conclusion all crows are black is obviously more general than the premises. This is the example of an inductive argument. Okay, but
Okay.
in deductive argument, the conclusion necessarily follows from the premises, and since conclusion follows from the premises, therefore it cannot be more general than what is already stated. It should be as general as the premises, or it should be less general than the premises. Do you get it, Ambrish?
Yes, yes. Now I get it.
Okay. Now, the fourth nature or the characteristic of a syllogistic argument is no term can be distributed in the conclusion if it is not distributed in the premises. This is very important. Okay, as we know that these premises and conclusions are propositions or they are the categorical propositions. Categorical proposition, as we have already know that in categorical proposition there is no condition between subject term and the predicate term. Okay, so all the proposition in a syllogistic argument need to be categorical proposition. Okay, and there are, as per the quality and quantity, we are having four kinds of propositions: universal affirmative A proposition, universal negative E proposition, particular affirmative I proposition, particular negative O proposition. Okay, then the distribution of terms, as I have told you, that the term is distributed if it is entirely either included or it is entirely excluded from another class. Okay, so as per the definition, in A proposition, the subject term is distributed. In E proposition, both subject and predicate terms are distributed. In I proposition, no terms are distributed, and in O proposition, only predicate terms is distributed. Okay, so in an argument, no term can be distributed in the conclusion if that term is not distributed in the premises. Okay, are you getting me, everybody?
Yes.
Okay. So if you find any argument where the term is distributed in the conclusion but it is not distributed in the premises, then it will be called a fallacy or a mistake, right?
Yes.
Now let us discuss the structure of syllogism. In every single syllogism, there are three and only three terms. In every single syllogism, there are three and only three terms, each of which occurring twice in the argument. Okay? ପ୍ରତିଟି ସିଲୋଜିଜମରେ ତିନୋଟି ଟର୍ମ ରହିବ ବାଧ୍ୟ ରହିବା ପାଇଁ ହେଲା ତିନିଟାରୁ ଅଧିକ ରହିପାରିବ ନାହିଁ ତିନିଟାରୁ ଅଧିକ ରହିଲେ that will be a fallacy or a mistake. Okay? And each of which occurring twice in the argument. Se ତିନିଟା ଯାକ ଟର୍ମ ଦି ଥର ହଁ ଆର୍ଗୁମେଣ୍ଟରେ ବ୍ୟବହାର ହୋଇଥିବ. Now, what are these three terms? Of these three terms, one is called the major term, another is called the minor term, and the third is called the middle term. Major term, minor term, and the middle term. Now, what is major term? Listen carefully. The subject of the conclusion is called the major term. The subject of the conclusion is called the subject of the conclusion is called the minor term. Conclusion ro जोटा subject हेतिबो सेटा को minor term कुआ जिवो. Minor term टा जो premise रे थिबो सेटा को minor premise कुआ जिवो. Okay? The subject of the conclusion is called the minor term and the premise in which it occurs is accordingly called the minor premise. The predicate of the conclusion is called the major term and the premise in which it occurs is accordingly called the major premise. The middle term occurs once in each of the two premises but does not occur in the conclusion. Is it clear to everybody? Please tell me.
Middle term occurs once in the premises, but
Yes, the middle term occurs once in each of the two premises.
each of the two premises.
So middle term must be common between two premises. Okay.
But I understood major term and minor term. What
Yes.
is the middle term?
Middle term is not occurring in the conclusion, Amrish. It will
Okay,
only occur in the premises. And it will be there in both the premises. That's why it is named as middle term.
okay.
Okay. The example that I have given you, see, please identify the major term. Anybody?
Great men, not. So the conclusion is some Indians are not great men.
Yes.
So not great men.
Not no. It is not. Should not be not. Only great men.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, great men. Yeah.
Okay. So great men will be the major term. What will be the minor term?
Some Indians. Indians.
Indians only. Okay. Then what is the major premise and minor premise then? Which one is the major premise and which one is the minor premise? अरे कुह सुबुची.
Yeah. So there are these two statements: no great men are jealous, some Indians are jealous, and minor term in premise is minor premise.
Which is the minor premise, Amresh?
Sorry,
Which one is the minor premise?
the subject. Um, so mm, great men.
No, no. I, I, I told you that the subject of the conclusion is the minor term. The predicate of the conclusion is the major term. Okay. And the term which is there in both the premises common is the middle term. Right? So, as per this, the Indians is the minor term, and Indians which is there in the premise will be the minor premise. So some Indians are jealous is a minor premise. Similarly, great men is the major term. Okay. Therefore, no great men are jealous will be the major premise. Okay. So the term jealous is common in both the premises. So the term jealous will be the middle term. Is it clear now?
So middle term occurs once in each of the two premises. So
Yes.
so uh, jealous occurs in. So jealous is the middle term, that is clear.
Hmm.
Now, but what is how to identify minor premise and major premise?
The minor term which is present in the premise is to be called as minor premise.
Indians.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Similarly, major term which is there in the premise is to be called as major premise.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me give you another proposition. Another argument. Write it down, please. All men are mortal. All men are mortal. First premise. Second one is all ministers are men. All men are mortal. All ministers are men. Therefore, all ministers are mortal. Okay? Please tell me which one is the major premise, which one is the minor premise, and which one is the middle term. Swagatika,
Yes, ma'am.
tell me.
Ma'am, ministers minor term
Huh?
and mortal major term
Hmm.
and man middle term.
Hmm. ତାପରେ କୁହ
Then
major premise minor premise କୋଉଟା କୁହ?
major premise all men are mortal.
Good.
All
Taପରେ?
ministers are men. All ministers are men. Minor premise.
Very good. Is it now clear to everybody?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, this position of the middle term is very important here. Okay. So, since middle term will only occur in the premises. Okay, the middle term will only occur in the premises, so it will occupy either in the subject place or in the predicate place. Okay, so as per the position of the middle term, there are, or the syllogism is having figures. Okay, we are having four figures as per the position of the middle term in the premises. So, by figure, we understand the form of the syllogism as determined by the position of the middle term in the two premises. So, in first figure, what is the position of middle term? In the first figure, Acha, another very important point I forgot to tell you, that the first premise must be the major premise, the second premise must be the minor premise, and the third is the conclusion. Okay, first premise ta major premise hobo, second premise ta minor premise hobo, ଆଉ जो proposition ଟା ରହିଲା ସେଟା ରହିଲା ତମର conclusion. So now in the first figure, the position of the middle term in the major premise is the subject term, and the position of the middle term in the minor premise is in the predicate term. Okay?
Ma'am, in the first figure means which figure?
In the see, as per the position of the middle term, we are having four figures. Okay, Amrish?
Okay. Okay.
Sorry?
So, as per the position of the
Of
middle terms, we are having four figures.
yes.
Uh, like four. Uh,
Four possible figures. Your voice is breaking.
okay.
Huh. Anything you want to ask?
No, ma'am. Continue. If I will have doubt, I'll ask again. You can
Okay.
continue as now.
So what is figure? Figure is determined by the position of the middle term in both the premises. Okay. So in a syllogism, the first premise is called major term, the second premise is called minor term, and there is conclusion. Okay. So in the first figure, the middle term occupies the subject place in the major premise and the predicate place in the minor premise. Okay?
Could you repeat that again? A middle term occupies subject place.
Subject place in the major premise and predicate place in the minor premise. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. In the second figure, middle term occupies the predicate place in both the premises. That means it will occur in the predicate place of the major premise and predicate place in the minor premise. Okay.
Okay.
In the third figure, the middle term the occupies the subject place in both the premises. That means it will be in the subject place of the major premise and in the subject place of the minor premise. So middle term will be the subject term in the major premise and it is the subject term in the minor premise. This is the third figure. Okay. Now in the last figure, which is the opposite of first figure, is the middle term occurs in the predicate place of the major premise and subject place in the minor premise. Okay.
Yeah.
Is it clear to everybody?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now let us suppose we take the letter S to represent minor term. Okay. Suppose let's take the capital letter S to represent minor term, the capital letter M for the middle term, and the capital letter P for the major term. S for the minor term, M for the middle term, and P for the major term. Okay? Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Then what will be the first figure then? फास्ट फिगरटा कौन हम मु तुमको जमी कहली फास्ट फिगर रे मिडिल टर्मटा मेजर प्रेमिस रो सब्जेक्ट हेतिबो माइनर प्रेमिस रो प्रेडिकेट हेतिबो हला आउ हमर लेटर एस होची माइनर प्रेमिस सॉरी माइनर टर्म आ लेटर पी होची मेजर टर्म ओके तो फास्ट टा केमति लिखा हबो एम इज पी then second टा केमति लिखा हबो s is m बुझी हला समस्तଙ୍କୁ बुझी पारला कि
Yes, ma'am.
what about others
Yeah. Understood.
clear to everybody
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
okay let me just share this can you see the blank page
Yes, ma'am.
okay so major term is letter p okay minor term is s okay middle term is m okay the first figure in first figure what will be the position of the middle term it will occur as the subject place or the subject term in the major premise and predicate place in the minor premise okay so syllogism re amara first premise ta major premise second premise ta minor premise बुझ पारला ता केमिति हबो M is P. Okay. M is P. First premise. তারপরে হব S is M. Okay. Therefore, where is the therefore symbol? Sorry, I don't find this symbol now. Let me just copy from the internet. Then we will. I will. Therefore,
S is P.
S is sorry, P. Clear?
Yes.
Okay. So this is the first figure, or it is could be like this. Okay. Now the second figure. In second figure, I have told you that the middle term will be in predicate place in both the premises. Okay. So what will be the form? P is M, then S is M, therefore S is P. Okay. So this is the What? This is the second figure. Okay. Clear?
Yes.
Then third one is your third figure, where middle term is in the subject place in both the premises. So here what we did write, MSP, then MHS, therefore SSP. Okay. Clear? Then we have the fourth figure, where we are having middle term as the predicate place in the major premise and subject place in the minor premise. Therefore, this is P. Okay, is it clear to everybody?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Is it visible to everybody?
Yes, ma'am.
See, the first and fourth figure are opposite to each other. You can see it, is not it? And the second and third are just opposite to each other. Okay. Then then next is the mood of the syllogism. Okay. MOOD, mood. What is mood? By the mood of the syllogism, we understand its form as determined by the quality and quantity of its constituent premises, or by quality and quantity of its constituent propositions, including the conclusion. Okay, the term mood has been used at least in three different senses. But the very definition of the mood, as I have just said, is that it's a it's the form as determined by the quality and the quantity of its constituent premises or the constituent propositions, including the conclusion. Okay, are you getting me? Please tell me.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so quality wise we are having two kinds of proposition, affirmative and negative. Quantity wise we are having two types of proposition. One is Kona,
Universal and particular.
universal and particular. So based on this quality and quantity, division, the mood of the syllogism is determined. Okay, that means, for example, let's take this first figure. Okay, suppose the major premise, use universal major premise, could be A, E, I, O, anything of the propositions? Yes or no? Major premise can be a proposition or a E proposition or I or O. Similarly, the minor premise can also be the A proposition or E proposition or I proposition or O proposition. So as the conclusion. So here we are having four possibilities. Here also we are having four possibilities, and here also having we are four possibilities. Is that it? Are you getting me? Please tell me.
Ma'am, can you repeat this? We are having these four propositions,
Huh?
and in each of these places, we can have these possibilities, four possibilities.
Huh?
So, what we can say about the mood, like,
That is the mood. That the mood of the syllogism is that what kind of proposition are there in a syllogism. Okay, as per the quality and quantity. So major premise can be the A proposition, can be E proposition, can be I proposition, or can be O proposition. So as the minor premise. Minor premise can also be the A proposition, E, I, or O proposition, and similarly the conclusion can be A, E, I, O. Okay?
okay,
बुझिएला? Okay. So it will now be seen that there will be 16 modes in each figure. So each figure can have 16 modes. Okay?
okay,
And 16 into, we are having four figures. Therefore, 16 into 4 is equal to 64 modes in all the four figures. Are you getting me or not?
so it's just like the permutation combination.
Yes, yes,
We are saying that these are all the possibilities of
yes,
combinations about each figure. These are all the possibilities. So
mm,
64 possibilities are there.
yes. Okay. Everybody clear now so far?
Yes, ma'am.
Huh? समझते क्लियर है लकी? Okay. So basically there are only 19 modes which can be or which are said to be the valid moods of the syllogism. Out of 64, or in widest sense that is 256 moods that I will explain. Okay, out of the possible moods we can have only 19 valid syllogistic moods. Okay, is it clear? Is it
Yeah, we
clear?
are.
Please tell me. Yes, yes, Amrish.
So the rest are like they become invalid, and only 19 remain valid as per the rules of
Yes,
eligibility.
yes. So 19 are only you can yourself decide what could be the 19 possibilities if we by knowing the syllogistic rules. Okay. So there are certain general syllogistic rules. Okay. Please remember these rules. Rule 1. Every syllogism must have three and only three terms, neither less nor more. Okay. Every syllogism must have at least three terms, neither less nor more. What are these three terms? Major term, minor term, and middle term. That is the very first rule of syllogism. Is it clear?
Yes.
If we are having more than three terms, then that will be a fallacy or a mistake. Okay, that will be a fallacy of four terms. Okay, rule 2. Every syllogism must have three and only three propositions, neither less nor more. Every syllogism must have three and only three propositions, neither less nor more. What are these three propositions? Major premise, minor premise, and the conclusion. Rule 3. In every valid syllogism, the middle term must be distributed at least once in the premises. There is no harm if it be distributed twice. Third rule. What is the third rule? The middle term must be distributed at least once in the premises. If it is found that it is distributed twice, then there is no problem. But the condition is it must be distributed twice in the once in the premises. Is it clear, Amrish?
Yeah.
Mamata?
Yes, ma'am.
ତାର ମିଡିଲ ଟର୍ମ ଦିଟା ପ୍ରେମାଇସ୍ ଭିତରୁ ଆଟଲିଷ୍ଟ କୋଉଥିରେ ଗୋଟେ ଡିଷ୍ଟ୍ରିବ୍ୟୁଟ ହବା ଜରୁରୀ ଦିଥର ହେଲେ କିଛି ଅସୁବିଧା ନାହିଁ ଆଚ୍ଛା ମତେ କୁହ in which proposition no terms are distributed please tell me in which categorical proposition no terms are distributed
I.
yes so if I is a proposition in which no terms are distributed okay if there is a syllogism in which both the premises are I, what will happen?
It will become invalid or
It will
fallacy.
become invalid. So you see how we are rejecting the moods, and can you understand it?
Yeah.
Okay. So if there is a syllogism where there is a case where middle term is not distributed at least once, then that syllogism will be invalid and it will be called as the fallacy of undistributed middle. What it will be called? It will be called as the fallacy of undistributed middle. Clear?
Yeah.
Okay. Rule 4. In a valid syllogism, no term which is not distributed in the premise can be distributed in the conclusion. This already I have said that the term which is not distributed in the premises, it cannot be distributed in the conclusion. Okay. So if there is a term distributed in the conclusion, then that term must be distributed in the premises. Is it clear to everybody? Please tell me.
Okay. Can you repeat this fourth rule one more time?
Yes. In a valid syllogism, no term which is not distributed in the premise can be distributed in the conclusion. जदि premise रे कौनसी term distribute हेई नाही ताहाले सेई term conclusion रे distribute हेई पारिबो नाही. जदि conclusion रे कौनसी term distribute हेइची ଆଉ ସେଇ term premises रे distribute हेई नाही ताहाले आकु गोटिए fallacy बोली कुहाजिबो. Okay, so as we know, conclusion is having major term and minor term. So, minor term occurring in the premise is called minor premise, and major term occurring in the premise is called major premise. So, if there is a minor term in the if the minor term in the conclusion is distributed, but it is not distributed in the minor premise, then it is called as fallacy of undistributed minor. Similarly, if the major term is distributed in the conclusion, but it is not distributed in the major premise, then it is called as the fallacy of undistributed major. Is it clear?
Yeah.
Is it clear? Pankajini,
Yes, yes, ma'am.
ପଢା ହେଇଛି କି ନାହିଁ ଏଗୁଡାକ?
ହଁ ଏଇଟା ସବୁ ପଢା ହେଇଛି.
ହଁ. ଆଚ୍ଛା. Rule 5. In a syllogism, if both the premises are negative, no conclusion follows. कौन कुआ आला? In the syllogism, if both the premises are negative, अच्छा, what are the negative propositions? Please tell me.
I,
E and O.
E and O.
and O.
हाँ. तो जदि E O थिबो premise हिसाब रे तार जदि थर एटा केते कोन probability रहिबो? Both the premises can be E, both the premises can be O, one of the premise can be E, one of the premise can be O. Yes or no?
Yeah.
Okay, so all these possibilities are denied because there will not follow any conclusion. Clear?
Ma'am, can you repeat this fifth rule? In a syllogism, if both premises are negative,
No conclusion follows.
no conclusion.
Okay. Rule 6. In a valid syllogism, if one of the premise is negative, then the conclusion must be negative. Understood? If one of the premise is negative in a syllogism, then the conclusion will be negative. ତା ଅର୍ଥ ଯଦି ଆମର A ଗୋଟେ premise ଆଉ O ଗୋଟେ premise ଅଛି, ତାହେଲେ ଆମ conclusion କୋଉ premise ହବ? କୁହ?
Negative.
Negative ମାନେ କୋଉଟା ହବ?
One of the conclusion is negative, so it will be fallacy.
No.
If one of the premises is negative, then
Then
one
the
of the
conclusion is negative.
yeah.
Okay. That means if one of the premise is A and another premise is O, then the conclusion will be
Negative.
negative. Negative money? It must be O.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes. Next rule. In a valid syllogism, if both the premises are affirmative, then the conclusion must be affirmative. Okay. Clear? Understood? What are the affirmative premises? Tell me, propositions.
A and I.
A and I.
Okay. Rule 8. In a syllogism, if both the premises are particular, then no conclusion follows. What are the particular propositions? Tell me.
I
I-O. I-O.
IO. So if both the premises are particular, then no conclusion follows. Okay. So there is also, what are the probability? Both the premises can be I, both the premises can be O, or any one of them could be I, or any one of them could be O proposition. Okay, if these are the possibilities, then there will not be any conclusion. Okay, so if both the premises are particular, then no conclusion follows. Rule 9. In a valid syllogism, if one of the premises is particular, then the conclusion must be particular. Understood? If one of the premises is particular, then the conclusion must be particular. Okay. Suppose in a syllogism, I am having the major premise as A and minor premise as I. What will be the conclusion then? Pankajini?
O.
Yes.
Then O.
ମମତା କଣ ହେଲା? କୁହ ପଙ୍କଜିନୀ କୁହ.
if of the premise.
ହଁ.
No, ma'am.
ଶୁଭୁନି.
Ma'am, major premise is A, minor premise is I.
କନକ୍ଲୁଜନ ଟା କଣ ହବ?
Conclusion.
Conclusion I.
Conclusion must be I ହବ.
must be I ହବ.
ହଁ.
ହେଲା କାହିଁକି ନା ଗୋଟିଏ premise ତମର particular ଅଛି. So if one of the premises is particular, the conclusion must be particular.
हाँ
Okay?
हम्म
Similarly, जदि मोर मेजर प्रेमिस ए अछि और माइनर प्रेमिस ओ अछि ताहले मो कंक्लूजन कोन हबो ओ हबो.
O হব O.
ओ
Yes. Is it clear now, Amrish?
Yes, yes, it's clear.
It's clear.
Yes.
So by this rule, you can see that how we can identify that there are only 19 valid modes. Another last rule is there. In a syllogism, if the major premise is particular and the minor premise is negative, if the major premise is particular and minor premise is negative, then no conclusion follows. Okay. If major premise is particular, that means it could be I or O. Okay. And minor premise is negative, that means it will be either E or O. Then no conclusion follows. Clear?
Yes.
Okay.
यस मैम
So as per the rules, we are we can determine the valid moods now. Okay. So there is a list of valid moods as per the figures. Okay. In your material, I think you must have this. In first figure, the rule is there are four valid moods: Barbara, Celerant, Dari, Ferio. Are all these being there in your materials or not?
Let me check.
पेज नंबर 51
It's there, na?
यस मैम
Okay. Do you want me to explain this or I will move on? Please tell me.
Ma'am, which terms did you use for us to verify whether it's in the study material? Some terms you used.
The valid modes.
Valid moods.
Yes.
Okay. Page number 51. Okay.
Okay, you get it now?
The valid modes, yeah, some things I have got. I will explore this further on our own. You can
Do
explore.
you want me to tell you a little bit about it or I will move on?
Maybe little it will be helpful.
Okay, just let me share the screen. Let's see what can be the possible moods in the first figure. Okay, this is the first figure. Okay.
Okay.
Acha. So what will be the combinations of the major and minor? Let us check first. Okay. So the major premise could be A and the minor premise could be A. Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
The major premise could be A, minor premise could be E. The major premise could be A, minor premise could be I. And the major premise A, then the minor premise O. Amrish, are you getting it?
Yeah.
Okay. Just let.
Okay.
Okay. Now we have done with A. Let's move to E. Major premise is E, minor premise is A. Okay. Major premise is E, minor premise is E. Major premise is E, minor premise is I. Major premise is E, minor premise is O. Okay. Similarly, major premise is I, minor premise is A. Major premise is I, minor premise is E. Major premise is I, minor is I. Major is I, minor is O. So will be the four possibility: major premise O, minor premise A. Major premise O, minor premise E. Major premise O, minor premise I. Major premise O, minor premise O. Okay? Can you see it?
Yeah.
Acha. Now, look at it very carefully. Which possible conditions, as per the rules, can be rejected? First one, see, we know that if two premises are negative, no conclusion can be drawn. This is one of the rule. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. So as per the rule, we can reject this one. EE, both the premises are negative, and
Yeah.
EO, then OO, then OE. Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. Then, if both the premises are particular, then also no conclusion follows. Okay. So, we have to reject II, then
Oh.
IO, then OI. Got it?
Yes.
Okay. Now, if the major premise is particular and minor premise is negative, then no conclusion follows. Okay. Major premise is particular and minor premise is negatives. Look at this IE combination. Major premise is particular and minor premise is negative. Okay. Any other? Can you see? Can you see? No. Is it clear to everybody?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's move then.
Okay.
So what are we left with? So I am just removing this now, deleting it. Okay. the conditions which are violating the rules. Okay. So now we are having 4 plus 2 plus 2. Total 8 combinations. Yes or no?
Yeah.
Okay. Now let's see. Another fallacy is, as we have already discussed in rule 3, that rule 3 or 4, if there is no term which is distributed in the premises, it cannot be distributed in the conclusion. Okay. Is not it? There is a rule. Okay. Let me just check. Okay. Now let us check this all by one. Then it will be easier for us to identify the fallacies. See, the form of the argument should be this: the middle term, this is major term, and this is minor term, and all these are conclusion. Let's check the first combination, AA combination. Okay. See here what I will write: all A proposition, all M is P. Minor premise is also universal affirmative or A proposition. Therefore, all S is M. Okay. Therefore, all S is P. Okay. So in universal affirmative, the subject term is distributed. Remember or not? ଆରେ ମନେ ଅଛି ନା ନାଇଁ କୁହ ଟିକେ ଶୀଘ୍ର ଶୀଘ୍ର କୁହ ହଁ ନା ଜଲ୍ଦି କୁହ ଆଗକୁ ବଢିବା
ହଁ
ହଁ ୟୁନିଭର୍ସାଲ ଆଫର୍ମେଟିଭ ବା ଏ ପ୍ରପୋଜିସନ ରେ କୋଉ ଟର୍ମ ଟା ଡିଷ୍ଟ୍ରିବ୍ୟୁଟ ହୁଏ ସବଜେକ୍ଟ ଟର୍ମ ଟା ଡିଷ୍ଟ୍ରିବ୍ୟୁଟ ହୁଏ
ହଁ
ହେଲା ତ ଏଠି କିଛି ପ୍ରୋବ୍ଲେମ ନାହିଁ ଦ ଫାର୍ଷ୍ଟ ପ୍ରେମାଇସ ରେ ସବଜେକ୍ଟ ଟର୍ମ ମିଡିଲ ପୋଜିସନ ରେ ଅଛି ମିଡିଲ ଟର୍ମ ଯୋଉଠି ଅଛି ସେଇଠି ହେଲା ମିଡିଲ ଟର୍ମ ଟା ଏଠି ଡିଷ୍ଟ୍ରିବ୍ୟୁଟ ହେଇ ସାରିଛି ତେଣୁ ମିଡିଲ ଟର୍ମ ମଷ୍ଟ ବି ଆଟଲିଷ୍ଟ ଡିଷ୍ଟ୍ରିବ୍ୟୁଟ once in the premises ସେଇ ରୁଲ ଟା ଭାଓଲେଟ ହଉ ନାହିଁ ସିମିଲାରଲି conclusion ର ଦେଖ ସବଜେକ୍ଟ ଟର୍ମ ଯୋଉଟା ସେଟା ହଉଛି ମାଇନର ଟର୍ମ ତ ମାଇନର ଟର୍ମ ରେ ସେଇ ଟର୍ମ ଟା ଡିଷ୍ଟ୍ରିବ୍ୟୁଟ ହେଇଛି କି ନାହିଁ ହେଇଛି ହେଲା ତ ଏଇ କମ୍ବିନେସନ ଟା ଗୋଟିଏ ଭ୍ୟାଲିଡ ମୁଡ ତାର ନାଁ ଦେଇଛନ୍ତି ସେ ଦ ନେମ୍ ଇଜ କଲ୍ଡ ଆଜ କଣ କୁହାଯାଏ ପଙ୍କଜିନୀ
ମ୍ୟାମ୍ ବାରବାରା
ବାରବରା that means
It's
this
just
is a ha
is
ha
this name just like any logic behind this?
this is the name that is given to this mood because there
Arbitrary.
are this the major premise is a proposition the minor premise is a proposition and the conclusion is also a proposition so there is three occurrences of a proposition therefore it is termed
Okay.
as barbara okay is it clear
Yes, yes.
ୟେସ୍ ମ୍ୟାମ୍
ओके सो एटा हमें कहार चेक कले ए रो चेक कले ହେଲା ବର୍ତ୍ତମାନ କଣ କାହାର ଚେକ୍ କରିବା
A.
ए ଇ ର ଚେକ୍ କରିବା ହେଲା ଏ ଇ ର କ'ଣ ହବ ଏଇଟା ନେଇଯିବା all m is p then ଇ ପ୍ରପୋଜିସନ ଅଛି ଇ ପ୍ରପୋଜିସନ ଟା କେମିତି ହବ no s is p ହଁ ନା ନାହିଁ ଆଚ୍ଛା ଏଠି one of the premise negative ଅଛି conclusion କ'ଣ ହବ conclusion କ'ଣ ହବ
Negative.
Negative.
नेगेटिव हबो ता अर्थ दीटा को यूनिवर्सल अछि माने कंक्लूजन भी यूनिवर्सल हबो तो यूनिवर्सल नेगेटिव माने ई प्रपोजिशन हबो therefore no s is p
P.
ओके एठी भूल करली ना no s is m okay okay so middle term is distributed here it is distributed here as a subject and it is also distributed in the e proposition because in e proposition both subject and predicate are distributed okay आना नहीं
Yes, ma'am.
okay so in the conclusion see we are having e proposition so e proposition re both subject and predicate terms are distributed okay now this predicate p is distributed in the conclusion but this p is not distributed in the premise that is a proposition why because in a proposition only subject term is distributed so it violates the rule that if the term is not distributed in the premises and if it is distributed in the conclusion then it is a fallacy which kind of fallacy will be এটা কোন প্রকার fallacy হবো
Fallacy of elastic
fallacy of illicit কোন measure
nature.
fallacy of illicit measure କାହିଁକି ନା conclusion ର subject ଟା ହଉଛି minor predicate ଟା ହଉଛି major ତ predicate ଟା ଯୋଉଠି ଅଛି ସେଇଟା ହଉଛି major premise subject ଟା ଯୋଉଠି ଅଛି ସେଇଟା ହଉଛି minor premise ହେଲା ଯଦି conclusion ରେ କୌଣସି term distribute ହେଇଛି ଆଉ ସେଇଟା ଏଇ ଦିଟାକ premise ରେ ହେଇନି ତାହେଲେ ସେଇଟା ହବ fallacy ତେଣୁ ଯଦି minor term ଟା ଏଠି distribute ହେଇଛି କିନ୍ତୁ premise ରେ ହେଇନି fallacy of illicit minor ଯଦି major term ଟା conclusion ରେ distribute ହେଇଛି କିନ୍ତୁ major premise ରେ ହେଇନି ତାହେଲେ fallacy of illicit major clear Amrish
Yes, ma'am.
so this possibility is denied
Hmm.
okay so AE should be removed clear
Yes.
next is AI combination so I proposition is sum s is m okay so if one of the premise is particular then the conclusion must be what আরে কোন হব? যদি গোটে প্রেমিস
particular,
পার্টিকুলার তাহলে
particular.
পার্টিকুলার হব। ওকে, so let's check. So middle term is distributed here in the A proposition, but it is not distributed in minor premise. So it does not violate the rule because middle term must be distributed at least once. Okay. So here some S is P. There is no term distributed here because it is I proposition and it does not harm anything. So this combination is valid and this is known as combination. The major premise is A, minor is I, and the conclusion is I. So this is called as DARI, Dari. These are the names they are giving. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Huh. Anything you want to say? Anything?
No, ma'am, we can
Okay.
move ahead.
Yes, sir. Okay, ठीक है. AI is done. AA is done. Okay. Okay. Next is AO. So in AO proposition, in AO combination, what will happen? I am doing it here. Okay. AO. 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 Some S is not M. So one of the premise is negative, the conclusion must be negative. Okay. So middle term is distributed, no problem. Here also predicate distributed, no problem. Conclusion dekho. Conclusion is O proposition and O proposition distributes the predicate. But here the P is distributed, but P in major premise is not distributed. Okay, so this is the fallacy of illicit major. Did you get it? Bujela?
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
Then let's move on to EA combination. Major premise is E. So therefore, here no. M is P. Minor is all S is M. So one of the premise is negative, conclusion must be negative. No S is P. Okay. So here middle term is distributed in major premise. Okay. And see here both the terms are distributed here. In conclusion, S is distributed, P is distributed. Let's see whether it is distributed in the premises or not. P is here distributed, S is also distributed. So this combination is valid combination. Okay. So the name is कौन रे ना कौन हैं
मैम सील वाली
Tolerant. ओके तापर हमर कौन रहिला EI 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 देखिबा no M is P, I will be, some S is M. One of the premise is particular, conclusion must be particular. Some S is P. Here the middle term is distributed. Okay. Here some S is P. So there is no problem. This is also the valid mood. It is called as, sorry, भूल कर लिया it is one of the premises particular and one of the premises negative তাহলে conclusion কোন হবে
some S is not P होगा
some S is not P, so this is called as ferio. Okay, E is the major premise, I is the minor premise and O is the conclusion. Okay, सरला परे E I परे आउ कोन अछि I A O A. Okay, Amrish, are you getting it or not?
I'm understanding after you are doing it on screen, so it's taking me little time to process it. But once you do it, then I'm understanding.
Okay, it is easy, you can understand it.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
don't worry, but you have to practice this.
Yeah.
So the
So
major premise oh, yes,
other people have studied this in their bachelors, or like they've
some
seen.
of them they have studied, some of them are not.
Okay.
So here major premise is I, some M is P and minor is A, all S is M. So one of the premise is particular, the conclusion should be particular. Some S is P. Now here the middle term is not distributed. This is I proposition, therefore no term is distributed. Neither M nor P. Okay. Here in minor premise, which is a proposition, only the subject term is distributed. But here what happens? The middle term remains undistributed in both the premises. It is not distributed either in major nor in minor. So the fallacy is fallacy of undistributed middle. Okay, so middle term must be at least distributed at least, sorry, middle term must be distributed at least once in the premises. So here we can see that the major premise is I, and in I proposition no term is distributed, and the minor premise is A proposition, and in A proposition the middle term is there in the predicate, but A proposition distribute the subject. So the middle term remains undistributed in both the premises. Therefore, the fallacy occurs, that is the fallacy of undistributed middle. Clear?
Yeah.
Then the last one is OA. Some M is major premise is O. Some M is not P. All S is M. So one of the premise is negative. The conclusion must be negative. Okay. Here also you can find that the major premise is O proposition, and O proposition distribute the predicate, but middle term is in subject place. Okay. Here also in A proposition, middle term is in the predicate, but A proposition distribute the subject. So middle term remains undistributed. The same fallacy is here. Okay. Fallacy of undistributed middle. Clear?
Yeah.
Okay. So out of this has been rejected. This has been rejected. ଆଉ କଣ ରହିଲା ରେ? AE ତ ଗଲା. AI is there. AO is rejected. So these are the valid moods in the first figure. Okay. Got it?
Yes, ma'am. We can
So
go ahead.
in this way only you have to do it in all the rest three figures. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. Please break for 2 minutes, then we will start something new. Ambrish, you can take help from those who are already read all this.
Yeah. So, can they share their contact details so I
Yes,
can
I
create
think
a?
Pankajini yesterday she was saying she have read. Pankajini, help him out.
Uh, so I'll just put my number here, and if they can WhatsApp me, then I can put my queries to them on WhatsApp.
Yes, yes. You share your numbers,
Yeah.
okay, among
Yeah.
yourself. Then you can. Who is Jyoti Sharma? Pankajini, share your WhatsApp number with Ambrish. In case he needs any difficulty, you can explain him out. Pankajini, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
हाँ नंबर दियो ताको କିଛି problem ନାହିଁ ତ
Okay, ma'am.
हाँ it will be easier for others no to understand the things.
Yes, ma'am.
Hmm.
And yesterday you referred to one book I got from Cohen, but other one was from G. Mishra or something like that. I couldn't find that. Could you please repeat the title of that book?
So this is the basic principles of deductive logic.
Okay.
Just a sec. Okay. So, shall we discuss? Start our discussion.
Yes, ma'am.
Ambrish, this is the book is the basic principles of deductive logic.
This is by
See, one of my PhD student is having the PDF of it. Okay, uh, I will tell him, he will send it to you.
okay. Thank you.
Just remind me. Okay,
I'll
after
put a
two
message
days.
on WhatsApp.
Yes, after 2 days or 3 days, I once he be back from home. Okay,
Okay.
then I will tell him to share with you.
Okay. Thank you.
Now, am I making sense to everybody? Please tell me. আরে বুঝি পারছো না নাই কেতিকি তো কুহ না বুঝি পারনা
हाँ मैम।
Yeah, so far so good, ma'am.
okay okay next we are moving towards symbolic logic. Okay, in symbolic logic, what we do, we symbolize the everyday statements. Okay, we symbolize the everyday statement, and by symbolizing, the symbolization help us to understand the sentence in a very profound way. So without any ambiguity, there will not be any ambiguity in our understanding if we symbolize the proposition in an argument through some logical structure or logical norms. Okay. Here, let me tell you two, three things which are very important to understand. Uh, let's start with, um, as you know, the distinction between simple proposition and compound proposition. So, in simple proposition, there is a subject term and there is a predicate term. Okay. But in a compound proposition, the compound proposition is a combination of two simple propositions. Okay. Now, the compound propositions are being formed by using certain logical connectives. Certain logical connectives. Okay. So, what are these logical connectives? Okay. Logical connectives. One is your conjunction. Okay. Conjunction, which is symbolized as दे and or, could be a dot. Okay, could be a dot only. Okay. Another is okay. So conjunction means and. Okay, conjunction means and disjunction is the form of why this colon is transferring. Okay. The disjunction is of the form of either or. Let me just either or. So conjunction is and, it is understood as and. Okay, and disjunction could be understood as either or symbolized as this. And conjunction is sometimes you can find and is written, or so simple dot signifies the conjunction. Okay, are you getting me?
The
Yes, ma'am.
dis- uh, the disjunction symbol is like V.
B, yes. Then there is implication. 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 Okay, the form of implication is if, why this is going to left, I don't know. If and then. If then. If and no. If then. Okay. And the symbolic symbolization is mm, it is not in use. Just a minute. Let me check the symbols. So here is this is the implication sign, the horseshoe sign. Here it is. Okay. They sometimes it is being represented as the arrow like structure, just like this. Okay. Then after implication, next we are having negation. Negation symbolically is this. Okay. Another is equivalence. Equivalence is if and only if. If and only if. So this is the symbol of equivalence, or you can draw an arrow which is referring to both the sides. Okay. Okay. These are called as logical connectives. These are called as logical connectives. Okay.
Yeah.
सब लोग क्लास रे अच्छे चल चल चल. आ गया. Okay. Then we are having certain letters like P, Q, R, S. Okay. P, Q, R, S, etc., which are called as variables, logical variables. Okay. These are logical variables. Okay. These we use to symbolize the propositions. Okay. These letters we are using to symbolize the propositions. Okay. The letters of alphabets that we are using to symbolize the what? To symbolize the propositions. Okay. Now let us understand the concept of truth value. What is a truth value? As we know that propositions are either true or false. So they are having two truth values, that is either true or false. This true or false can be written as, you can simply abbreviate true as 1 and false as 0. Okay. Or true as T or false as capital F. Okay. Now each proposition has a condition under which it is either true or false, and that very condition is called as the truth value of that proposition. Okay. And when we are dealing with compound propositions, okay, the compound proposition is a proposition consisting of two simple propositions. So the truth value of a compound proposition depends upon the truth value of two simple proposition that it contains. Okay? बुझिएला?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, how can we decide the truth value of a compound statement having the logical operator conjunction? Okay, suppose we are having P as a statement and Q as a statement, then what will be the truth value of P and Q? Okay, what will be the truth value of P and Q? Two, three, four, five, P, Q. Okay. So, listen carefully. So, how many propositions we are having? We are having P as a proposition, then Q as a proposition, then our compound proposition, that is P and Q. Okay? बुझिएला?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
अच्छा, तो मु तुमको कहूची गोटे प्रपोजिशन रो दीटा ट्रुथ वैल्यू रहुची ହେଲା ଯଦି दीटा को प्रपोजिशन हमर ताले दीटा रे टोटल केतरा ट्रुथ वैल्यू रहिबो ଯଦି गोटे रो दीटा ट्रुथ वैल्यू रहिला दीटा रे केतरा ट्रुथ वैल्यू हबो मिसी की
4.
चारटा ट्रुथ वैल्यू हबो ओके क्लियर
Yes.
So we are having two truth values of each proposition, and if we are having two proposition, then they will have four truth values. Okay. So now if there are three proposition, they will have 2 to the power 3, that is how much? 8 truth values, isn't it?
Yes. Yes.
Yes. So how can we decide the combination of truth values among the propositions? Okay. So we will begin with the last proposition. This is a truth table that I have drawn is a truth table. Okay. Here P is a single proposition, Q is a simple proposition, and we are having a compound proposition P conjunction Q. Okay, and the simple proposition Q, it will have the combination of truth and falsity as one truth, one false, one true, one false. Okay. Similarly, the next variable or the next proposition will contain just the double of the first one. That means if the first proposition is having one T and one F combination, then the subsequent proposition will have just the double of it. TT F F. Okay. Here we are having two proposition. Therefore, we are having four possible combination. Okay. যদি আমার পাখে তিনটা থান্তা তাহলে কোন হয়ে থান্তা 2 to the power 3. Okay. 2 to the power 3 is equal to
8.
8 rows we are having. Okay. Suppose let me just draw it. So this is for 3 number of variables. Okay. So 3 number of variables fine. We will have 8 rows. Okay. Suppose along with PQ we are having another variable called as R. Okay. We are having R as row. So now there are 4 rows. We will have 8 rows. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the extreme variable will have 1t, 1f, 1t, 1f. We'll continue with this. And the second one will have tt, f, f. And the third one will have just the double of P. That is, if P is having 2 sets of T and 2 sets of F, then R will have 4 sets of T and 4 sets of F. Okay, is it clear?
Yes, it's clear.
Okay, if there is more, then there will be 2 to the power 4 will be 16 rows. Okay, so এটি চারটা জায়গায় 8টা টি হইଯିବ 8টা f হইଯିବ বুঝিলা?
Yes.
Okay, so here let's go back to the conjunction operator and how can we decide the truth value of this conjunction. So P conjunction Q will be true if both the conjuncts are true. Okay, P conjunction Q will be true if both the conjuncts or both the propositions are true, otherwise false. Did you get it?
Yes.
So there is only one possible condition on which P conjunction Q is true, otherwise it is false. Clear?
Yes, it's clear.
Yes, ma'am.
हाँ कुआ किए कौच किसी कौच गई की अरे के किसी कौच की Okay. Now, what is the truth value of P disjunction Q or P or Q? So, P or Q will be true if any one of its disjunct is true. Either P is true or Q is true, then P or Q will be true, otherwise false. Okay, if any one of this proposition is true, then P or Q is true. Okay.
Okay.
So here it is true, here it is true, here it is true, here it is
False.
what? False. Okay. Next is our
Implication.
implication. Okay. P implication Q. So here you have to understand one thing. The sentence before then and after F is called as antecedent, and the sentence which occurs after the word then is called as the consequent. Okay? Suppose there is a sentence, if there will be, if he is a cricketer, then he is famous. Did you get the sentence? If he is a cricketer, then he is famous. So, here in this particular proposition, he is a cricketer is the antecedent and he is famous is the consequent. Okay. So, here antecedent is P and consequent is Q. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So, P implication Q will be false. P implication Q will be false only when the antecedent is true and consequent is false. Otherwise, it is true. बुझिला कौन कहली? P implication Q केतबेले false हबो जेतबेले antecedent true हेथिबो आउ consequent false हेथिबो. सेई गोटिए कंडीशन रे इम्प्लिकेशन टा फॉल्स हबो, नहले बाकी सब कंडीशन रे एटा ट्रू हबो. बुझेला?
Yes.
सो P true, Q true, P implication Q will be true. So P true, Q false, P implication Q is false. P false, Q true, P implication Q is true. Both P, Q are false. P implication Q is true. So for implication, there is only one condition under which it is false, where the antecedent is true and the consequent is false. Okay? Then we are having equivalence. Equivalence is true when both the propositions are having similar truth value. Okay. When both P and Q are having same truth value, their equivalence will be true, otherwise it is false. So when P is true, Q is true, P equivalence Q will be कौन हबो?
False.
True.
କାଇଁ
False हबो.
false କାଇଁ ହବ?
True हबो.
ଆରେ ଦିଟା ଆକର ଯଦି ଗୋଟିଏ ଟ୍ରୁଥ ଭ୍ୟାଲ୍ୟୁ ରହିଲା ତାହେଲେ ଇକ୍ୱିଭାଲେନ୍ସ ଟା କଣ ହବ? True ହବ. So if P is true, Q is true, P equivalence Q will be
True.
true. Similarly, if P is false, Q is false, P equivalence Q will be
True.
true. Good. Otherwise, it is false. Okay. Is it okay?
Yes, it's clear.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, what will be the negation P? Negation P will be the just the opposite of the truth value of P. So if P is true, not P will be false. If P is true, not P is false. P is false. Negation P is true. P is false. Negation P is true. ହେଲା?
ମ୍ୟାମ୍ ଆଉ ଗୋଟେ ରହିଗଲା ହଉଛି ଅଲ୍ଟରନେସନ ଅର୍
ଅଲ୍ଟରନେଟିଭ ତମେ ଏଇନା ବୁଝିପାରିବନି ତାକୁ କାହିଁକି ପଢେଇବି?
ନା
ସେଟା
ମ୍ୟାମ୍
ଏମିତି
ବୁକ୍
ଆମ ଟ୍ରୁଥ ଟେବୁଲରେ ନାହିଁ ନା।
ନା ଯୋଉ ଆମର ଯୋଉ ଇଗ୍ନୋରେ ଯୋଉ ନୋଟ୍ ଅଛି ମାନେ ଯୋଉ ବୁକ୍ ଷ୍ଟଡି ମେଟେରିଆଲ ସେଥିରେ କ୍ୱେଶ୍ଚନ ମାନେ ଦେଇଛନ୍ତି
ଅଲ୍ଟରନେଟିଭରେ
ଏକ୍ସରସାଇଜ।
ତମକୁ ଏମିତିରେ ବି ମୁଁ ପଢେଇଥିଲି ତ। ଯୋଉ
ହଁ
କ୍ଲାସିଫିକେସନ ଅଫ ପ୍ରପୋଜିସନରେ ଅଲ୍ଟରନେଟିଭଟା ତମକୁ ଡିସ୍କସନ କରିଛି ଅଲରେଡି।
ହଁ
ହେଲା?
ଆଜ୍ଞା।
ଆଚ୍ଛା, what will be the truth value of not Q? ଆଚ୍ଛା ଏଠି କହିଲ କଣ ହବ not Q under truth value?
False. For true, it will
False.
be false.
କହିଚାଲ false then
False, true,
ହଁ
then false,
ହଁ
then true.
good. Okay. Now tell me what will be the conjunction of negation P and negation Q? कल एटा टिके देखिया बुझिल केते तमे कोन बुझिल मु टे देखिबी आर ट्रुथ वैल्यू बाहर कल नेगेशन P नेगेशन Q पाई जाइछ
False,
फर्स्ट कोन होबो
false,
फॉल्स तापरे
uh, false,
फॉल्स तापरे
False.
false,
फॉल्स तापरे
False. True.
true.
P.
वेरी गुड क्लियर
Yes.
this is the truth table. This is called the truth table. Okay. Now we are only just explaining the connectives while we are doing while the when we will do the argument we can verify the validity through the truth table. Okay, clear? So you have to remember all these connectives and the compound statements, decision of truth values. Is it clear now so far?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Just listen one thing. Do you all have the book Symbolic Logic 5th edition by Irving Copy?
I have the fourth edition. Is like fifth edition. Some major changes have been there.
I cannot say that. I am not aware about this
Okay.
because I am this following this 5th edition. Okay.
Okay.
So if you are having the chapters in your book, okay, let me check. This introduction, logic and language, then arguments containing compound statements. Do you have these chapters?
I just have to search for that book. It's a PDF, so I'm a little bit searching.
Okay, no matter.
I'll search
Don't
it later. I'll just note it down.
worry. Just write down the chapter 1 is introduction colon logic and language. Okay, and the chapter 2 is arguments containing compound statements. Okay,
Okay.
Please go through these two chapters. This is very easy. You will not feel, you will not feel anything complex here. Otherwise, uh, it will be much easier for you if you are having with you the Basson O'Connor book. If not, then it is fine.
Basin O'Connor.
This is the name of the author. This is a very small book that the
Uh,
students of UG they are following it. Okay,
the title of the book is Symbolic Logic.
I think so.
Okay.
Okay, you have to just look at the this truth connectives or logical connectives analysis there.
Okay.
Okay, so that it will be easier for me to make it more comprehensible.
Okay.
Okay.
Mhm.
Otherwise, what I can do is, no, this will not be feasible, I think. Okay.
So either Symbolic Logic, fifth edition of Cohen, or the Basin O'Connor book,
Huh.
and the Truth Connectives, Logical Connectives, and Fallacies.
Hmm.
Okay.
So, shall I stop today?
Yes, ma'am.
Acha. So, in 15th, I think I am having the last class, na?
Yeah.
So, what I will do then? See, in next class, I can explain you how to check the validity through truth tables and invalid truth table, then the conditional proof, indirect proof, that I can explain. Okay, and
Okay.
I can also give you some idea about quantifiers.
Okay.
Okay, let's see then.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, bye then.
Yeah. Thank.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.